Hey guys, Tricky here from the People's Revolution. The purpose of today's video is to address the disinformation, the lies, and the malicious rumours being spread about our last event in Brisbane on September the 13th. Now I'll start by saying this. Yes, maybe my speech could have been shorter. Yes, maybe the other speakers should have had their speeches done after the march. But I will also say this. If I wanted to simply appease the masses, I would have draped myself in an Aussie flag, chanted Aussie, Aussie, Aussie a few times, and took the crowd for a march around the city, sent them home, and that would have been considered to be a successful event with nothing achieved, guys. I'm not about that. So, while we have received a fair amount of backlash, I'm happy to report that the support we have received far outweighs the negativity. Half the crowd stayed for the whole event, they stayed for the march, they stayed for all of the speeches, and they enjoyed the event as usual.
Good support, bro. Thank you. Thanks, brother. Come by that, bro. Absolutely, bro. Check. Hey.
Now that obviously doesn't go for everyone. An interesting point to make here, guys, is that in those, those that were active before the COVID years, even if simply actively supporting, the vast majority of those people are fully on board with the message we gave on Saturday. They are fully supportive of TPR moving forwards. And the noise and unwillingness to see the truth here is from many of those that are new to the movement and many of those that have only woken since COVID, not truly awake. Now, going into this event, guys, I told my family and friends to be there. I wanted them there, I wanted them to enjoy it, and I wanted them to enjoy the atmosphere. As I explained to them, it could potentially be the last one we do. When they asked me why I'm saying this all of a sudden, I said, because I'm going to tell the people the truth. And the truth is, as I explained the other day, that there is a psychological operation currently taking place using staged events and emotional triggers to create a heightened sense of emotion and therefore the artificial momentum required as the driver for the very obvious divide and conquer plan. This is Psychology 101, guys. Whether you are aware of it or not, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter because it's right here, right now, and only a portion of Australians are far enough down the path to actively see it happening. Now, as I reiterated to my family, friends and volunteers, 9 years deep into my activism, we've held between 50 and 60 rallies with around 100,000 at the peak over 3 events consecutively. And if the masses are not willing to see that we are being played off against each other, and instead turn on and crucify those bringing the truth, then I want no part in it. TPR and myself have always been about bringing the people together, regardless of colour, race, religion, and anything else. So don't expect us to join in on the divisional tactics currently at play. Firstly, I want to address the main concerns and rumours that people who didn't even attend the events on Saturday are spruiking as truth. It's simply embarrassing. Would you not reserve your comments until you've seen the actual footage? Complete lack of integrity on display. Another point to make is that I received multiple threats leading in to the events on Saturday. There are 2 particular groups that are very unhappy with me apparently. One being the National Socialist Network, which are the self-proclaimed neo-Nazis and white supremacists that are more like a pyjama party, playing dress-ups. And the other group is a bit more serious. These are the Zionist lobby groups and organisations. Now, I had a phone call by somebody that works quite closely with these guys. As a sole warning, he said, Tricky, I just want you to know that these Zionists are very unhappy with you. And my response to that is, well, if they're unhappy with me simply sharing the truth, maybe they need to look at the Zionist political organisations in Israel and around the world that are executing their actions and have a look at why people are becoming very upset with it. Now, even if there was a portion of the crowd that didn't agree with what I was saying, the response was unwarranted, aggressive, and it was certainly exaggerated. There was obviously groups there that came with the sole intention of disrupting and antagonising, and they did do a fairly good job of it. Because if I was there with my children, I don't know how long I would have stayed either. It was quite loud at times and certainly aggressive. Now, the first thing I'll address, guys, is the minute of silence. Now, even the people that were there somehow are spruiking online that I dedicated the minute of silence to Muslims, and Palestine. Now, my exact words were, I dedicate this minute of silence to the original people of this land who died protecting their home. I also dedicate this minute of silence to the Anzacs that died protecting their home. And I also dedicate it to the innocent children and families on both sides of the fence in the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine. Now, I did this because Australia has an indirect role in these foreign wars, including that war, and that must be addressed.
And we're going to take what's ours. We'll start this off with respect. We'll have a minute's silence. And that minute's silence today is dedicated to the original people of this land that died protecting their home. It's dedicated to the Anzacs that died protecting their home. Charlie Kirk. It's dedicated to all the innocent families and children on both sides of the fence in Palestine and Gaza and Israel that have been mercilessly slaughtered by tyrannical regimes on both sides. There is no winners in a war like that. It's the people that get killed. And it goes on until we realise we are the only ones that can stop it. That's the raw truth of war. Without soldiers picking up the guns, there can be none. Tell them to put down the guns, let those little wretches fight their own wars. Please join me in a minute of silence, guys. Thanks, guys.
And as you can see from that footage, the entire crowd was dead silent for 60 seconds with respect. And interestingly enough, online, people are trying to harass me for dedicating a minute of silence to people that are offshore, not in Australia. In the same breath, they say, why didn't you dedicate the minute of silence to Charlie Kirk? Isn't he one man offshore? And you would rather the minute of silence dedicated to one man offshore than hundreds of thousands of innocent babies, children and families being slaughtered in war? So if you do have a problem, or you have prejudice in your heart for dedicating that minute of silence to people off this land, you've got some serious soul searching to do. Guys, and this is really important. One of the biggest problems is when I was explaining the obvious psyop about the burning of the Australian flag, which took place in Melbourne, directly in front of mainstream media cameras. I was explaining how the person burning the flag was at a pro-Palestinian march, apparently, and he was covered from head to toe with masks and gloves, but when you zoom in under his eyes, you can see that he's white. But he's burning an Australian flag at a pro-Palestine march. Wouldn't they be burning an Israeli flag, seeing that it's Israel that's dropping the bombs on Palestine? The point here was to point out that it was a staged event used to trigger emotions. But I'm pretty sure that people took that as me saying white Australians are to blame for burning their own flag. It's just the emotional state of people. They're not willing to actually sit back and listen to what's being said. They run off with their emotions running high and start pointing the finger at people. This country will go down the gurgler so bloody quickly if people don't start understanding that we're on the same team and that we are being played against each other. This could not be any clearer.
They burnt the Australian flag. The flag didn't get burnt in Sydney. It got burnt in Melbourne. It got burnt in Melbourne an hour after the fact. It got burnt by a guy covered from head to toe in dark clothes. But when you zoom in underneath his eyes where the skin was, he was white. You got a white guy burning the Australian flag, pretending to somebody else at a pro-Palestinian movement. But think about it, guys. Would a pro-Palestinian movement guy burn the Australian flag, or would they burn the Israeli flag? Would they burn the Israeli flag that's dropping the bombs? That makes sense, doesn't it? So you're being emotionally triggered. That was the final straw. That built the momentum up, and all the good people responded. This is for all Australians. All Australians, black and white together. Everybody that agrees, black and white together, let me hear you. Righto, there you have it.
The other point I want to make very quickly, guys, is that when I use the example of the Ashura Festival, which is that Muslim festival in Melbourne, to clearly identify of how the mainstream media can frame certain things in a certain way, using an inflammatory title to suggest what that emotional response should be in the viewer or the reader. Somehow that's been taken as me defending Islam. I'm not a Muslim, guys, so I don't defend Islam. I'm not a Christian, so I don't defend Christianity. And I'm not a Jew, so I don't defend Judaism. What I am is a 40-year-old man who has built a very tight and close relationship with God over the previous 40 years on this planet, on this physical plane. And what that has given me is the ability to connect with God by going deep within inside myself. And when I look around at everybody else, I see God within them. I see God within the birds, the trees, the water, this one energy that connects us all. We are one. So don't allow your prejudice or your misguided hate for another person, race, or religion interfere with what the truth is. Because if you keep doing that, if you keep allowing your preconceived idea of what you want the truth to be guide your truth, you are never going to find it. You will always be biased.
So let's have an important look at the staged events and the organic events that were filmed and framed in different ways to create this artificial momentum and cause the desired emotional triggers in our population. Ashura Festival in Melbourne. Can anybody know what that is, the Ashura Festival? It's that Shiite Muslim festival. For over a decade, they've been having this march, these Muslims. This time, the cameras were waiting in front of a church, which they march past every single year for the last 12 years. They framed it badly and used an inflammatory headline, which caused that emotional trigger in people to now get upset. Christians versus Muslims, Muslims versus Christians, debating you. The bishop of the church came out and he said, these Muslims in our community have been walking past this church for over a decade. Every year they call us and they inform us that they're heading past out of respect for us. He said there was no malicious intent towards Christians or towards the church. And he said he defends their right to partake in that peaceful procession. People chose to ignore that and they got amped up. So the next thing that happens is anti-Muslim event held in Melbourne shortly after that in direct response. I called the organiser and I tried to explain to him, you're being baited. Read the passage from the bishop of the church. There was no malicious intent. You're being baited. If you do this, you're playing to the divide and conquer trap. You're going to cause further division. He didn't listen. He did it. A plant was sent in wearing a Hitler shirt. Of course, what happens? Fights break out. More division. Shortly after that event, a video surfaced of a few thousand Muslims all dressed in black, chanting in the city of Melbourne, chanting, "We are awaiting orders." A few thousand Muslims all in black chanting that. That's pretty scary, right? Except it didn't happen. That's not what happened, guys. They were chanting, "Oh Hussein." Who is that? Who is Hussein? Let's have a quick look at this guy. Who's Hussein? It's the grandson of Muhammad, who was killed by a tyrannical regime that wanted his support, but he refused to support him because they knew they were corrupt, they were violent, and they were a bad influence on the Muslim community. So he refrained. So they sliced him up. So that festival, they come out in support and directly against a tyrannical regime and oppression. Shouldn't that resonate with most of us? Isn't that what we're doing here today? This is what we're doing. But people take the bait and they turn on each other. Just like that. Without even understanding what they were saying, they post this thing on social media saying, that, look at all these Muslims, they're saying, we're awaiting orders. They weren't even saying it. Everybody has to calm down, start showing some responsibility and research skills and look into things before you feed the beast, because the beast is going to take this country from your children. It's important. And I'm not defending Islam, guys. I'm not connected to it in any way, shape or form. And while I have a strong faith in God in my own way, because I've built that relationship with God over 40 years, I'm not defending Islam, I'm not religious. I'm simply pointing out how things are manipulated to trigger emotional responses in a population to cause a desired effect. And we're starting to see this now.
The next lie to be sent around cyberspace was that we didn't actually address government corruption. Guys, the whole event was based on government corruption. Our 4 speakers spoke on government corruption. Our first speaker, Jess, spoke on the corrupt child protection services who take innocent children from good families. Our second speaker, Jerry Bruce, a barrister and former military officer, spoke on his vast experience in government corruption. Deborah Yule spoke next about the WHO pandemic treaty. and the corrupt bureaucrats internationally that seek to control our country. And finally, Steve Andrews, former MP and probably the best politician Queensland has seen, spoke on his experiences with government corruption.
We want to talk about government corruption. Barnaby Joyce comes out and says that he was offered $500,000 to stop talking about renewables. That's fair enough. Who offered him the money? How is that money going to get transferred to him? And how do they cover it once that money is transferred? Those are valuable questions that we need to ask. And with those answers, we can start investigating these governments, the people involved, the lobbyists, and start pinning them to the wall. Once we get one person pinned to the wall, the floodgates will open. These are all strategies that we need to start looking at and start employing and start pushing people to get into. Malcolm Turnbull. Malcolm Turnbull's wife's name is Lucy. She is the chair of Prima Biomed. Prima Biomed, right? That's a company that is heavily involved with vaccine manufacturing. What was old Malcolm up to when he was the PM? He was forcing vaccination mandates on people. How do you have the Prime Minister of this country forcing vaccines up on the population, and on the other hand, his wife is the chair of a vaccine manufacturing company? Is that not conflict of interest? They need to be investigated. And they need to be pinned to the wall, and that needs to be a signal to everybody else that wants to come into this country and start doing dodgy things like that, putting the Australians last and the hierarchy first, that they're going to get pinned as well. We need to start fighting back. The Wagner family in Toowoomba, they were paid $270 million to build a wellness camp. That was in 2021. It's been open for 4 or 5 years. 700 people have used that facility, just 700. There's 1,000 beds in it, and it's been open for 4.5 years. And now it's doing nothing, it's just sitting there. Why is somebody getting paid $270 million? That's taxpayer money. That's our money being used on that. If it's not going to get used, investigations need to start. We need to look at these guys, investigate all the different angles and pin them to the wall. Until this happens, guys, they're up here, the brown paper bags are getting passed around, and we're sitting down here arguing amongst each other. We need to start getting more organised and start fighting back. The premiers, every single premier that was active during the COVID-19 pandemic has now left office. They didn't get voted out. They didn't last to the election. They left early. Now, it's very unusual for any sitting politician to leave early on their own will. Every single premier left early. Does that not reek to you? Could it be possible that they were paid or they received some sort of benefit to enslave the country through those times and blackmail, coerce and bribe the entire population into getting untested injections? And when their job was done, they took off and ran before they got pinned. This stuff is happening underneath our noses on a daily occurrence. It's all well and good to come here on a Saturday and talk about it, guys, but going forwards, we need to get organised. We need to start propping up active groups. We need to get forensic accountants, forensic investigators, and start doing publicly funded, independent investigations separate to the government. We don't need the help. We don't want the help. It'll be the people running this. It'll be the people funding it. It'll be the people investigating. And that's the only way we can actually get through, guys.
Now, the next rumour being spread around is that apparently I said that I support more immigration. Let's have a look.
If any country relies on mass immigration, that country is piss weak. It just shows weak government and weak government policy. But if you're being propped up by that mass immigration and you cut it off, if you just stop it, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. So let's look at productive ways how to deal with that in a way, right? The first thing I'll suggest, guys, is if you look at Qatar. Qatar used to be the #1 exporter of gas in the entire world. They taxed the foreign companies that took their minerals. Their citizens don't pay tax. They don't pay education fees. They don't pay medical fees. They don't pay registration. Any guesses on who is now the #1 exporter of gas? Australia. Look at us. We're in the cost of living crisis. People are homeless. Why? 60% of the gas getting sent overseas doesn't even get taxed. It's royalty free. Imagine all of the royalty from the money made from actually taxing the people that are coming here and raping our land. Then we won't have to rely on immigration, right? So there's ways that we can go into this in a productive and constructive manner that'll have the desired result without a fallout. This is the educated way to approach it, and that's the effective way to approach it, guys. We have to take a step back, calm down, examine the situation. Exactly. Brother, why don't you just wait and listen to what I have to say instead of jumping the gun? Okay? All right, this gentleman brought up a fact. Okay, now I understand that there is policies around the world to flood Western countries mainly with migrants to cause instability. This is a problem that we need to look at. But when you look at the numbers, guys, in the UK, it's preposterous. It's really a bad sign that's going over there. That country's falling apart. We need to be very careful that we don't allow this country to go down that same path. There has to be a reform on immigration. There has to be immigration reform. We have to look at that, right?
One of the other main rumours going around is that I called everybody that attended the August 31st march a Nazi. Simply untrue.
Look, I said, many people here today went to those marches, and I'm proud of you for standing up and doing what you had to do.
Now, I certainly did address the fact that some of the national coordinators and organisers are in fact neo-Nazis, white supremacists and racists.
While not all of the city's organisers were racist, white supremacists or neo-Nazis, the main national organisers and coordinators were in fact. Now that's not my opinion. That is proof. The proof is their own videos, their own audio recordings, their own posts, the comments. Do some research for yourselves and you'll uncover what I've uncovered. And that is why, brothers and sisters, I chose not to be involved with those marches.
And I also went on to say that the organisers in Brisbane, whom I've spoken to and quite like, although I cannot and will not support their stance on this current topic, I look forward to working with them on future topics that we do agree on.
The Brisbane organisers of the last event I speak to, great guys, get along with them well. And I'm looking forward to working with them in the future, but I can't on this particular, if that's going to be the direction going forwards, I'm going to step back from that. And they can do what they want and we're going to do what we want. And it's up to the people where they go, but we have to stay united. The last thing we can do, guys, it gets drawn in two different ways. The far left socialists on this side are fighting the far right socialists on this side. What's going to happen when they go at it in the streets? More rules and restrictions are going to come in. This is how the government uses us against ourselves. They create situations they can leverage off. We have to be smart. We have to stick together. That's right. Don't play their game, we play our game. Force them into the positions we want to force them into.
Alright guys, there's plenty more of that, but what I'll do is simply put a link in the comment section to the entire video for the entire speech unedited, so everybody at home can finally watch it for themselves and see exactly how the day went down. The bottom line is this: TPR and myself have always been about spreading the truth, and we will continue to do nothing but spread the truth. So I guess the final question is this: can you handle the truth? I love you all. We'll see you soon.